I just thought, just to start, because he wanted to do this. Are you here, Mike? Yeah? Great. He said this topic was supposed to be about pastoring to change lives. And I thought I would start just by telling you that, you just never arrive. You never really figure it out. Every season of life you have to navigate. And you just never really, you just, once you think you got your hand around it, it all changes. And one of the things that I'm learning continually all the time is just how to pastor myself. So when Dale talked about how to pastor to change lives, that's totally where I went first, was how to pastor myself. Because why do you want to just do what comes natural? You'll probably end up being a terrible pastor if you do what comes natural, right? If you repeat how you were raised, if you do what comes natural, who's going to want to follow you? You'll probably be terrible at it. And so you have to do things that aren't natural, right? And so, which is pastoring yourself. And it's something I probably haven't given loads of thought to, but until in recent times, just the decisions you make, the way you do things, how you pastor yourself. And so just a couple of real life examples, just like in this last month. I've made some big messes. And it's so easy to excuse your messes. It's so easy to blame your messes. It's so easy to have another reason for your messes. But the truth is, you made a mess. And however it turned out, messes need to be cleaned up. And 2 times this month, I've had to backtrack and go apologize. And one big mess I made, and I'm just, you guys know, that's probably why you like me to talk, because I'm just too honest. But, I was sending my daughter Anna a voice message. And I was telling her about this and about that, and it's going to my daughter Anna, right? Well, when I send it to the whole kitchen. It's a whole group text to about 11 people. Now, did it say anything in there terrible, negative, mean? No. But it was not intended for the whole kitchen. It was intended for my Anna. And I had to go. I thought, okay, even though there wasn't anything in there that was mean or any of that, I knew there would be a mess. And I had to go to all my kitchen and ask them, talk to me. How did I hurt you? How did I offend you? Because with one person in my kitchen, she was very offended. And what happened, it wasn't anything that I said, but it brought up a whole lot of feelings of a past experience. And so I need to listen to that, and I need to humbly apologize. And it was, you spend the time to clean it up. On another occasion, which happened recently, is one of my leaders came, and there's a whole lot of things that, this person said this, can we do this? And there's a lot of hall decisions really quick, and I've learned not to make hall decisions. They just never turn out good. And so she was like, this lady, she thinks she has some great ideas for our kids team, and should we and could we, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sure, why not? And then when we sat down and we talked about it in a meeting, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not sure we should really go. And then it came up, but wait, you said yes. And so everything in me could have got big. But I just kind of, pulled back and thought about it, and I said, you know what? I am so sorry for letting my yes be too quick. And I said, I deeply apologize for that. I said, I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes. could we revisit this again? And so instead of, letting, as we get bigger and bigger and, first it's your claws and then it's your teeth and then you're fighting, instead of doing that, you just, and so you have to do, and I just want you to know that this whole road of pastoring doesn't mean that you're perfect. Amen. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. It doesn't mean that you have, right? It doesn't mean that you have it all figured out. You just don't, because every scenario changes, every season changes, and so you're in a really safe group. Pastoring to change lives has nothing to do with that you have all the knowledge here and you have all the character and you have everything flowing. It has so much to do with how you're going to take care of your own self. So you have to pastor yourself before you can pastor other people. I heard when I was in my early 20s, somebody said, "What do you want on your tombstone?" And most of you guys have probably heard this story, What do you want on your tombstone? And I got to thinking, and here I'm in my early 20s, so what do I know about cemeteries, right? Except that you can't say much on your tombstone. It's pretty short. And so I thought, oh, that's a good question. So it has to be short. What do I want on my tombstone? And I had seen enough to know what I didn't want. And so I came up with just a little easy, simple words that it still is it's my target for my tombstone. And what I said is, I want to be brave and I want to be soft. And those things kind of are, it's almost like wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. It's almost like opposite, And as you get older, you realize it takes a lot of bravery to walk out life, because there's a lot of things, And I don't know a load of old people that are soft. Yeah, their skin is. Their skin is definitely soft. But so many old people I know are bitter, cynical, harsh, critical. They don't have anything good to say about anything, anybody, anything. And I knew that I didn't want that to be my story. And so as I've gotten older, I've seen that brave and soft, they're not that easy. It's a little bit easier when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s. It gets harder with every decade to end your life being brave and soft. And so I just ask you guys that question. What do you want on your tombstone? And let that be your target, These are areas that I have seen that I need to pastor myself, okay? One is when you think about your history, think about how you grew up. So I grew up in a home that had addicts and alcoholics. And so, of course, that's my future. I mean, that was my home. So it's something I have to pastor myself in, is my history. Not only that, it's one thing if it's in your home, it's another thing if it's in your family, it's another thing if it's in your generations. Then, you start dealing with strongholds. And strongholds are big deals, They're really big deals. And so it's good to know what you're up against. If you're from a home of liars, and then it was a whole family of liars, and it's a whole generation of liars, you've got a family stronghold. And to pastor yourself, it'll be different than how you're pastoring, another person with whatever they're dealing with. So my unique situation was addictions, and it ran deep in the family. There was sexual addictions, there was drug addictions, there was alcohol addictions, and it wasn't just my family, it was generations. And so it's a generational stronghold. And that's something to be keenly aware of how to pastor yourself, because it's not going to come natural. To walk out of that is not natural. And so your history is a really big deal. Another area you have to pastor yourself is just the expectations that other people put on you, who they want you to be. And you know, when we first went into the ministry, I learned really quick because I was pregnant, but it's a joke that I was always pregnant. And so I was 19 and I was pregnant, and I thought I had the cutest little red sailor dress on. And this lady came up to me and she was so mad. And she told me, "Don't you know that pastors' wives don't wear red?" And I looked at her and I said, "No, I don't think I knew that." I wasn't aware of that. And you know, I'm stubborn enough to say it's my favorite color. But the truth is, it is. But just, you know, the expectations, and it changes. The expectations change with every season. You know, that your kids are perfect. There's a big expectation of that. It's how you look and what you do and blah, 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 blah. And those are things you have to pastor yourself on, you know? It's the expectations other people put on you. Another one is just the lack of qualifications. Like, one of the things that I've always struggled with is I'm not qualified. Who am I? You know? I don't know these things. I don't have all these credentials. And the truth is, when God calls you, He qualifies you. And so it really doesn't matter what titles you have on your name. When God calls you, there's the grace, there's the anointing, but these are things that you have to pastor yourself in. One of the things, and maybe, did I jump around maybe?
You're on track.
I am on track?
Yep.
The one thing I thought is, as we pastor ourselves, is that, and it's what I said in the very beginning, if you do what comes natural, nobody's going to want to follow you. And the reason I say that is because we all learned habits as kids, as family members, of how we deal with things. And so, you know, like in my family, we blamed and we excused. We never owned our stuff. And so if I did what came natural, then by this age, I would be an old lady in bad denial. And who wants to follow that? That doesn't bring life, right? People want to follow pastors that are filled with the Holy Spirit, that are loving and kind and gentle, easy to be entreated, right? And so you can't do what comes natural. When I was thinking about character, my character issues, and this is something you need pastoring on, is your character issues. Do I have a chip on my shoulder? You know, everyone else knows if you do. Right? It's just, we're the ones who don't admit it, right? Do I have a chip on my shoulder? Am I insecure? Are people able to speak into my life? Are people able to tell me, man, that was rude, that was harsh, that was insensitive? You know, or am I so insecure that I have to have every reason why it wasn't, you know? Am I the kind of person that talks before I think, and then I have casualties everywhere? Am I that kind of person? You know, these are all like character issues. These are all inventory checks, if you would. And these are all things where you can really pastor yourself on. And that might sound so weird. Does this make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do I always need to be right? You know? Our emotional issues. Am I a moody person? Do people say about me, oh, catch her on a good day? Oh, catch him at this time of day. You know, it'll go better for you. Am I a moody person? Am I unpredictable? Who you are dictates how I act, let me see if I can say this right. What I do dictates who I am. Mm-hmm. And these kinds of things come out. All your insecurities, all your character issues, all these things come out. pastor yourself in your spiritual life. Am I just a bunch of noise? Have you guys ever asked yourself that question? Like, I think all of us can say, okay, we know scriptures, we go to prayer meetings, we worship, and all the things, but am I really just a bunch of noise? Like, is there depth to my life? When people come around me, do they really get to taste the fountain of living water? Or am I just a bunch of noise telling them what to do? Because I have all the answers, because I know all the scriptures. So that's the kind of pastor people want to follow. When something comes out and there's some living water, it's not because I have all the right answers and I know all the Bible verses. That's not what they want to follow. Just as a side note, and you guys know, people, they need Jesus more than ever. And they need to meet the lover of their soul, who is so merciful, who can change any story. People need to meet him. And they know when pastors aren't authentic, and when we're just a bunch of noise, and we're just acting a part. It's not a comfortable thing to pastor yourself, because you have to get used to asking yourself questions all the time. Why? Why did I think that? Why did I act that way? Why did I say that? Why did I feel that? You have to get really comfortable asking yourself those questions. I would say that if you let every day be your inventory, like I tried to make a list of questions for you to ask yourself for an inventory, and I thought, why? Life is a pretty good inventory sheet, right? You don't need a bunch of questions. Just take yesterday. Just take yesterday as your inventory sheet. Like, what made me sad? Why was I so sad when they told me that? Or what made me so mad? Why did I get so mad when they said that? Why am I afraid? Ask yourself these questions. I think working in kids' church, like I get blamed a lot for kids' behavior. And for whatever it's worth, you because you genuinely love the people, you listen. And Sharon, you're so mean to kids. My kids aren't comfortable here because you're so mean, and you just get blamed a lot. And you just have to ask yourself the question first, why are they saying that? Is there truth to that? Could there be truth to that? Is it a unique scenario that I need to know about? Was somebody mean to them? Dial yourself back and ask some questions. Why? Why are we having this conversation? Why is there any truth? And then, once you do your homework, if there isn't any truth, then you consider, okay, well, this family is desperately hurting. And they feel like they need to blame someone right now. And maybe they're not doing a great job at pastoring themselves. But maybe this isn't the time. Maybe they're hurting too bad, And so you just take it for what it's worth. They're just a desperately hurting family that needs a place to put, whatever. And so there's no reason to get mad. It just is. It just is. It's a mute point. As long as you've taken the time to pastor yourself. You know what I'm saying? I got the blame. I got the blame card. Somebody blamed me. So what am I going to do with that? I can get mad. I can be quick with my words and tell them why they're so wrong. I can go talk about them to everybody. Or I can just take the time to pastor myself and say, why? Why did they bring that to me? Why is there truth to this? What's happening here? So when life hands you this kind of stuff, you just take that as your inventory. Why did I get so defensive? When they, when my husband, when my wife told me, why did I get so defensive? Why? Was it something they said? Is it true? Is it something I need to correct? You know, why did I get so sad? Why did I go into such a dark place when that happened? Why? That's how you pastor yourself. You have to get comfortable asking yourself the why. Is that weird?
No.
It's called self-reflection.
And maybe at a little deeper level. Because if you're going to pastor other people to life, you know, there's a reason they want to follow you. And you hope the reason is because when they follow you, they've tasted of the Lord and He is good. And there's something you have to give them, you know? And so maybe as pastors, you go a little bit deeper with the whys. And you're dissecting your reactions. Maybe I could say it that way. Because our reactions are rarely the event. Our reactions are almost always something deeper, you know, just rarely the event. Why did I respond that way, act that way? Is there necessary cleanup? That's always a fair question. And like I said, this month I've had 2 necessary cleanups. And you do it. And you know, and you face whatever it is, and you apologize. And who did I hurt? You know, sometimes we'll speak truth, but it hurts. It could hurt. It could have a slew of casualties. And so I always ask myself the question, was that a truth worth even speaking? Was that even worth it? You know, bless you. Yeah, was that a truth? Was that necessary? Like sometimes you have to say something just to dig your point in. Was that, you know, was that even worth it? Or was it worth just keeping your mouth shut? Because sometimes truth, it has no benefit and it just is a slew of casualties. So I don't know. I always ask that. Like if I'm going to say something back, is it worth it? Is it going to change anything? Is the outcome going to be any different? You know, who is it going to hurt? So you do have a lot of reels going on in your mind. Get used to this, Mel. Keep your reel sharp. I know. I asked Dale last week. I said, "Do you think I'm getting too old for this job?" I forget what he said.
It was powerful. It was powerful.
And then, you know, another question is, who am I blaming? And, you know, blame is subtle, because sometimes, man, you put a lot of spirituality on it. You know, you dress it up. You anoint it with oil. No, you would never, ever call it blame, because you've put some big spiritual jargon to it. And it really is blame, you know. So, yeah, who am I blaming? Man, blaming, it just keeps you so trapped. It keeps you so yesterday. You'll never get to move on when you blame. One of the things that I was reflecting on is that just, you know, like I told you, with my history and with the family and with the generational strongholds that I grew up in, I really felt like, in hindsight, that it was a Holy Spirit decision that I made back in my teens. And I decided in my teens that I would never drink. And I probably was 15 when I made that decision. And I just said I would just never drink. Now, I still had this family, and to this day, you know, me and Dale, we go out to eat, and our family, they'll have wine, they'll have beer, and it's fine. I have not a problem with them enjoying their drink with their meal, not at all. But for myself, I will not drink. And my fear was, my thought was, what if I like it? Because it's my family, right? It's a generational stronghold. And that was my fears. What if I like it? And then what if I can't stop with one drink? What if I need more. And I don't know that about myself. I don't know, and why do I want to find out? Because it's a generational stronghold, right? So it's like you just kind of created a boundary for yourself that you just never had to walk in. And so now I'm just an old lady, and I can't tell you what anything tastes like, because I just made that decision when I was 15 that I wouldn't, because I didn't know if I would like it. You know, that was really my main motive. I didn't know if I would like it. And so now in hindsight, I think, yeah, that was a Holy Spirit decision. And so when you know things about yourself, about your family, about your history, it really helps you say, okay, yeah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to entertain with whatever, because you've just put some good, strong boundaries. And it helps in pastoring yourself. All that really helps in pastoring yourself. You know, Dale wanted to open this up for Q&A, but the last thing I just wanted to say is, you know, every season changes. And, you know, you would think that you would get to a place where you could coast. And have you ever got right? We haven't found that season yet where you could just coast, right? And you know, I was and I am really struggling with my weight. I lost a load of weight on purpose and gained it back and more. And it's so funny how the enemy works. You know, he always comes to you in the night when you're asleep, right? When you're at your most vulnerable point. And he was just eating me up for lunch. And the lies that would come to me is, you know, Sharon, you have no self-control. Look at all those Cheetos you ate today. What about the Cinnamon Toast Crunch? You know, and why do you think people would even listen to you? You have zero discipline. You don't even walk the walk. And it was relentless, and always in the night, always when you're asleep, he would come at me. Now, you guys might laugh at that, but that was just a really big, raw piece of what I'm struggling with, you know? And so, anyway, it's a lot of conversations with Jesus. You know, people want special prayers. Do you have a special prayer for sorrow? No. Do you have a special prayer for grief? No. Do you have a special prayer for anger? No, I don't. But I can tell you to draw near to the Lord. That if you draw near to the Lord. And so lots and lots of conversations with Jesus. Jesus, am I really this? Am I really this terrible person? How did I let this happen to me? How did I gain all this weight? Not only did I gain all this weight, but I'm feeling it in my joints. I'm paying for it in my joints. And it's just been a really hard thing. And so the Lord is just so gracious. And he'll come and he'll give you a word. And so, and I started writing down my very few words. I have a list going there. I only have 4. Now this is in this season, right? I'm not talking about my whole life. I'm talking about this season. And the first word he told me is, Sharon, you are not a quitter. And I looked and I'm like, you're right. I am not a quitter. Okay, tell me more, Jesus. And so, you know, and he reminded me how way back, and you guys know the story, back in my, I don't know, 20s, 30s, when I was in this, I was so depressed because, you know, Dale was so busy with the ministry and I was so busy with little kids. And I didn't know I was depressed, but hindsight, I was depressed. And the one thing I had made a decision back then on is that no matter what, I will always go to church. Not that church is all that. I mean, it is. But it's not that it has a secret whatever. But I did know that church lays a platform for Jesus to show up in my heart. And so I knew going to church would be laying a platform. And so when I hear people say, oh, I'm just not going to church, because I was like, no, don't not go to church. It lays a platform for Jesus to show up. And so this was the same kind of thing. Sharon, you are not a quitter. Okay, you're right, Jesus. So he reminded me when I said I would always be in church. Sharon, you don't quit on yourself. Like, you're right. Not that I would ever kill myself. Never even thought about killing myself. But I could quit. I could just eat a whole bag of Cheetos, you know, and not care. I could do that. But he reminded me, I'm not a quitter. Okay, I'm not a quitter. The next thing he told me is, you're a powerful girl. You're a powerful girl, and your words matter. Like, really? Yes. Sharon, I have given you words, and you are powerful because you're mine. Not because you're anyone else's, but you're a powerful girl, and your words matter. Okay. That was the second thing. And then, and this all wasn't in a day. I'm going to say that this was probably in about 4 or 5 months, right? A word a month is good. I can hang on to it, right? The next thing he told me is, you make decisions and choices that lead you to the high road. And the high road is paved with goodness and mercy. And those are the decisions and choices I'm going to make. And that's part of pastoring yourself, is knowing what kinds of decisions and choices you make. Getting out of bed is a decision. And when you're depressed, it's a hard decision. But you make those decisions to pastor yourself. That's how you get to the next step. Getting the help you need is a decision that'll lead you to the high road. You know, those are all big decisions that take you to the high road. And this one you guys will laugh at. But this was another one. Fat is not my future. Or not even close. But I'm declaring it, that it is not my future. Not because I have anything, I don't have a bias or anything like that. But it's hurting my joints. And so that would be the reason. It's, you know, for health. It is not my future. So those are my 4 declarations that I'm standing on, that I'm pastoring myself in. And it's a choice, and it's not always an easy choice. Choices aren't always easy, you know. I mean, I could just tell you so many stories, but anyway, I guess the main thing is, before we do questions, is we're all in really different places. And it's never too late or too early, you know, to start pastoring yourself. And really letting your daily life become your inventory, and asking yourself a lot of whys. Why am I stuck in this place? What is the mindset that put me here, you know? It's not that I'm becoming what other people want me to be at all. And that's a really good point. You're not trying to be what other people want. But you're walking in, when you pastor yourself, you're walking into who God has called you to be. You're walking into a destiny. And who God has called you to be is somebody very beautiful. You are the ones who bring the goodness of God to people. You're the ones who can say, hey, my marriage was dead. Let me tell you about the merciful kindness of Jesus. You know, my daughter was lost forever. Oh, let me tell you. I was deep in addiction. Oh, let me tell you. And it's not becoming who other people want you to be. It's becoming who Jesus has destined you to be. And it's full of joy and life and love, goodness, mercy. Anyway, I think that's about all I got to say about that.
Awesome. So I'll start with a few questions just to clarify. Just shout out, you know, that go to church statement, maybe in the context of a pastor who leaves at 6 a.m. to go preach, and you have 6 little children, and you not miss 1 or 2 Sundays a whole year. That's pretty amazing. That's I think that the question on the pedestal was really good, which was maybe people coming and saying, clarity on, they say, do you have a special prayer for me? One of the things you didn't let people do, we know there's both sides. One, people will put you down because you dress in red. And then people will puff you up and make you want to be this super spiritual, mighty woman of God and tempt you to start to wear that. And you've been exceptional at saying, I want to deflate that balloon as quick as possible. So how do you just keep people in that balance of not letting people put you on a pedestal and not letting critical opinions keep you down?
Yeah, I think that is this whole thing of pastoring me. Who is defining me? And am I letting all these other voices define me? Or am I letting Jesus define me? And I have heard him whisper to me many times, many times, Sharon, you don't have to wear high heels. Does Jesus say that? He does. Can you imagine?
He told me that too.
And so really being, when you pastor yourself, you grow in confidence of who he says you are. And so I have heard him, affirm me on multiple occasions that he's really good with the way I dress and with the prayers I pray. I mean, you guys who have been around a long time know that one of our struggles was that Dale prays these, awesome, mighty, lofty, big, long, audacious prayers. And mine are like, they're very little and very they don't have a whole lot of words or scriptures or any of that. And I went through a season where I felt like my prayers pretty much hit the ceiling and came back down. And just really, hearing God tell me my prayers are a beautiful thing. And when I pray, he opens his ear for my prayers. And that was life-changing to me. And then hearing him tell me, Sharon, some of your best prayers are Jesus. And so really getting that whole definition from him, like not looking to other people to define how I pray or how I look or any of that kind of stuff. So it is pastoring yourself, again, as he defines me,
And you just add this because you were raised very conservative Christian views. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago that as a woman pastor, you kind of stood up, began to exercise more authority, which didn't come and fit a lot with the background that you were raised in. What would you say to someone who may be breaking through a glass ceiling or being, and some of these are going to watch it from the Philippines that are women pastors, and they're constantly feeling compared or put down, and how much authority they should exercise as a woman. And now you've been in a role as a senior kind of executive leader in the church for a few years, and you had to be pretty confident, and you had to go ahead and break through some of the traditions. How do you do that so some of the other women would be called to raise as a woman pastor?
I mean, I think it's kind of the same thing, is that you think, a woman has to, they have a loud voice, and they know the scriptures, and they enunciate things a certain way, and being okay that's not who I am. I won't ever be loud and enunciate things the same way. And I can't remember, if Noah's in the Old or New Testament, and so, just being okay with that. Like I say, this went with my resume. I don't have the credentials for this job, I don't have them. But if God calls, then, he anoints, he equips, and just really being confident in who God says you are, and so yeah, I think with me, I'm as comfortable cleaning the bathrooms as I am in the kitchen, cleaning up throw up from one of the kids, or being in the pulpit. It doesn't really matter a title or a role. I just want to be, Jesus, I just want to be your hands. I just want to be used wherever you see fit, if I'm a penny in your pocket or if I'm $1 in your pocket, wherever you see fit, I have no title to grasp. I'm not trying to hold on to a position or a title or a reputation. No, I just want to be real, authentic me who's a lover of God.
And I want to emphasize the two things she's saying about identity because they're key to leadership. You have to have high belief in your purpose. God called me to do this, so I don't care what anyone else says. And high belief in yourself. I'm worthy of God's love, and He can use me, and the way I minister is good. So those two things have made you very effective. And I wanted to underscore those because I thought they were very important.
And I ask the Lord every time, are you sure? I do. I always ask Him, are you sure about this, Jesus?
Another question, because I've observed you for a long time. But the ability to empower others. Lyndon Johnson said, if you're going to be an effective leader, you not only open doors for people, but you teach them how to walk through, and you applaud them when they succeed. And you are far more comfortable with empowering and letting other people be up front or equipping others, even in the kids' church. But just kind of how do you equip people? Like, even after Baron Jess left, you didn't take the stage. You've trusted and knew people. What would you say about pastoring people's potential, helping people who might not really be ready start to lead? How do you equip and empower people?
Well, that's a couple of things. Like, it takes me back into my early days in my 20s, and I was leading a women's ministry. And this gal came on the scene, and she was dripping with gifts. She was beautiful, and she could sing, and she could play the guitar, and she knew the Bible, and she was kind. She was just dripping, with all the gifts. And she was skinny. And so she wanted to start, we called them care groups at that time. And I remember my original reaction was, I was so stinking jealous. I'm like, who does she think she is? She just came on the scene, and she wants, and I was so jealous. And I remember it took me about 2 weeks to pray through that one. And I remember the Lord coming and talking to me about that. And it's pastoring yourself. I could get mean, I could get ugly, I could get nasty and tell her no. Who does she think she is? Or I could dial it back and pastor myself. So I remember just crying out to the Lord about that. And I remember Him so specifically telling me, you know what, Sharon, if she joins your team's going to go to another level. And your team is going to shine brighter than if it was just you. I'm like, you're right. So she's going to strengthen the team, yeah. And you're going to be more famous, yeah. And people are going to be more touched, yeah. Okay. Now, mind you, I was very young. Okay, let's include her. Let's bring her in. And so I think at that point, I learned something about ministry to this day. And that is, I don't have all the gifts dripping off my fingers, but so many other people have so many gifts that will make this team better. And so when Baron Jess left, I just started thinking, okay, I need somebody smarter than me, brighter than me, wiser than me, somebody who has done this before, and can help me figure this out. And so, and that's when Tim and Marty came to mind. And they haven't been a part of our church for about 3 years because they left to follow their kids. But they both have always helped us in kids ministry. So they know the ins and outs, they know how it works, and so it's just a conversation. But now I think it was a whisper from the Lord. Go look them up, ask them. And so they're like, yeah, we're in. I'm like, but you have to leave your church. Done. I'm like, okay. And so it's just, just knowing that everybody has a gift to bring to the table. And if it's up to me to bring all the gifts, it's a lame team. But if everybody can bring their gifts to the table, even though maybe they're all not that great, but all put together, it's a pretty remarkable team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Bill.
I do have a question. When the Lord speaks to you about your identity, either directly, but I've also had words spoken to me through a prophetic word. To me, that's harder to deal with. How do you, because I don't know what that means. I don't know how to do it. I haven't done it before. So how do you pastor that in yourself? How do you steward that kind of a word?
Like an outside word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From somebody else who gives you a prophetic word.
Yeah. I could, I don't know if I could just say for me that when there's an outside prophetic word, boy, I run it through a load of filters. Like I don't swallow every prophetic word. And I've had several spoken over me, and I just, I don't take it as, oh, God said, and now, and then, and this is how. It's got to go through a load of filters, because prophetic words, everybody's human. So just because God said, it could be 20% God, it could be 60% God. It's coming through a human vessel, which I know you know that. So sometimes we take prophetic words as if this is it. And I don't think they should be taken that way. Unless it's just a complete bears witness, this is on track, this is, yes, I'm running with it. But all the ones I've had have never been like that have been like, yes, amen, this confirms. I've never had one quite like that. I don't know if yours was like that or if yours brought confusion. If it brings things like confusion, things that aren't a fruit of the Spirit, I would just put it on the back shelf.
You can comment on how, if it's a confirmation like the one Jason just received, how that can affect your whole destiny because it's an echo of what the Spirit's saying inside of you.
Right, you say that.
No, I just think God uses prophetic words greatly because it says, fight the warfare in Timothy 1 by the prophetic words that you received. What makes a prophetic word powerful is it's confirmed. It articulates what God's told you other ways through Scripture or time. Jason was just called out in front of Bethel, and he was given a prophetic word about wealth. You're called to steward wealth, and God's going to use you in a significant way in the world to develop plans that will facilitate ministry for generations to come. Well, it happened to be Chris Volatin, which is kind of nice. But then beyond that, it's exactly what he was stepping out to do and praying about. And on top of that, as soon as it was spoken, now people are calling him. So it became like, I call it another stone in David's slingshot. It became something because the enemy's going to attack you. So many times God gives you a prophetic word so that now you're even more deeply ingrained in who you're supposed to be, and you have another voice against the voices of doubt and discouragement. So,
but it was a confirmation.
And it's a confirming word. And again, God could give the word first and then the confirmation, Or he could speak to you and the word is a confirmation. But I just say there's going to be multiple reinforcement of that word, you know.
Any other questions?
Someone asked me, and I just throw it out here, it's Pastor Appreciation Month. How do pastors like to be appreciated? That's what they asked me.
Yeah, me and Dale, we were talking about this one. I said, oh, don't get me started. Mostly because I feel like there's this huge pressure, like there's Pastor Appreciation Month, there's Daughter Day, there's Sunday, there's Grandparents' Day, there's, you know, Administrative Day, there's, you know, you just go on and on and on. And so, like on social media, everybody's posting pictures of their daughters. Like you feel like a bad mom if you don't post pictures of your daughters. Or all their sons. You feel like a bad, you know, parent if you're not. So, you know, there's just so many days. Like it becomes kind of daunting. And then when your kids apologize because they forgot Grandparents' Day, it's like, oh, please, remember me every day, okay? Don't remember me just on one day. And so you just get kind of overwhelmed with this whole day that is, or a month, or whatever, you know? And so yeah, I kind of feel that like it's overwhelming with all these kind of special days. Like let's just really live to love and appreciate each other all the time, you know? And so, and you can do it all in really small ways. It doesn't have to be big things, you know? And so I told Dale, joking, I said, well, nobody can buy me a new car. So, you know, just showing up, I'll feel appreciated. So anyway, we were just joking about that. But yeah, that's my feeling is that, you know, like one of our kids' workers, and he would never even know that it just made me feel so, I don't know, it just lifted me. In that one of the kids came to me and said, Miss, will you tie my shoe? And I couldn't bend down. And I'm like, oh, darn. First time I couldn't bend down and tie a kid's shoe. You know, that's a crummy feeling. And Matthew was right there, and I said, hey, Matthew, can you tie his shoe? And he goes, yeah, of course. And so when I got home, I texted him, and I said, Matthew, thank you so much for tying that little guy's shoe. And he says, oh, Sharon, it was nothing. And so I texted him back and I said, you know what, Matthew? It was everything to me because I couldn't bend down. So not only did you do it for him, but you did it for me, you know? And so it's just things like that. It's just being present and being in the moment. And, you know, it's just, yeah. And then you just feel, those are things, you know, those count. So, yeah, Libby.
I have a friend who's going to be celebrating an important birthday, and I am not a good gift selector. I'm not one of those people that knows you have a gift of finding wonderful things for people. But so I said, you've got to tell me what you want. And this person said, I want a gift certificate to Dairy Queen.
Thank you.
I said, that's wonderful.
Okay. And Libby, you know you can get those at Walmart. You can get Dairy Queen gift cards at Walmart. Oh, they're $15. And so you could get her as many as you want. But you can, they're already made right there at the registers where they have all the gift cards. You can get a Dairy Queen there. I made your life easy.
It's great to have someone actually say,
Tell you.
You know what, this is what I would like.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I love for pastor. You know what I love the most is when people love our church.
Yeah.
And people say, I love being at this church and I love what you're doing for God. Yeah. That blesses me. Yeah. I think it goes to love languages. I think it is really important. You know, when you know Sharon's love language is serving and works, you know, hey, you want to bless Sharon, go tie someone's shoe. But someone else says, no, give me a Dairy Queen card. But you begin to know people and you study how to appreciate people. And I think that is an incredible pastoral gift too. I've always said to people, they say, well, how do you get close to Sharon? You go clean up trash when kids are playing and you have just become her friend, you know. But don't try to take her to dinner or don't try to have a long conversation because I don't have time for it. But you really do read people, and appreciation, I think, is an important part of pastoring. So that's why I thought that was worth doing. Your security. One other thing, just how do you, how do you teach people to just kind of, when they manage the team and stuff, how do you just teach them to handle the highs and lows of ministry? You said that, but that really stuck to me, that probably most people give up on pastoring because they haven't prepared for some of those highs and lows. Do you have any thoughts? How did you deal with the lowest time of the ministry?
Yeah, there's a lot of low times. There's a lot of dark times. There's a lot of, are we having fun yet times? Too busy times, exhausting times. And I think that a lot of that is, you have to pastor yourself. And did I go beyond my limitations? There are times when people are very mean. And it takes time to really work through, to really forgive them. So, and especially if they stay in your church, you want to treat them the same as you would your best friend. You want to treat everyone the same. And so really just doing the due diligence of keeping your heart, free from offenses, and really keeping it brave and soft. And sometimes, it's a real brave thing to forgive someone that's, said a load of lies about you. But it's necessary. It's part of the gospel. It's who we are, and it's what we do. And so
That's good.